Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you with Grandpa Brian, Trina Phoenix, and Dalibor Suchi. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Pleasure to be here.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, Grandpa Brian or Trina, either one of you, I think you should tell us what is all of this about. I know, Trina, you helped Grandpa Brian find this information and get this, and we don't know how, so maybe you want to explain it, and then Grandpa Brian, you can go on, or vice versa, or both of you can just kind of spit it out.
Okay. Well, okay. So how this began was I got trained in a process called journey work, and a lot of people online, you know, the QHHT sessions, you see a lot of those. It's similar, but a little bit. It's just a little bit different because journey work is a little bit different in the way it approaches the session, and it's very gentle and it's organic and it's pretty much it's a guided, basically a guided meditation where you're letting your client express the own wisdom of their own consciousness and their own soul and helping them to navigate through that. And you're not really giving any direction other than asking them if they can answer the questions that the client that they put forth. So basically you're serving to hold space for their consciousness to see what they want to discover within their own self. And you can do healing work, and you can do emotional release work, and you can do 100 different things. But the fun thing that I love about this process is it's all about the client. It's like they're driving and you're just helping them get to their destination and get them back home safely. But you show them right from the beginning that you're in control, and you choose and you sit where you want to be. And this is all about you. So, Brian wanted to do a session, so we decided to do one, and I've been doing this now since, I think, 2004. So it's fun. All sessions are different, and, you know, it depends on what you want to accomplish. What are your intentions? And I've been really blessed to see people wake up miraculous things in their body and heal things that they thought there was just no way they could be fixed, and people can do amazing things. So it's really cool to be a witness, to watch people do completely amazing things.
I got a question right off the bat, and I know everybody's probably wondering what did, and I think I know the answer, but they're gonna say, well, was Grandpa Brian there, or did you do it over the phone or face on Zoom, or how did this happen?
He was here, and then we did the next one on the phone. So you can do it both ways.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. First one he was with me. The second one we did it on the phone.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Cool. Now, is it get the first one done on in person, or is this a thing that you just do on the phone too?
Yeah, we did it in person the first time, and then we didn't do the next session for, what was it, 2 weeks, Brian?
It was more closer to a month.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew it was later. So he was here, and we were together for the first one. And then for the second one, we did it on the phone.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Trina, you mentioned a QHHT session. What is that?
Quantum hypnosis healing session.
Okay. All right.
Technique. Yeah. Quantum healing hypnosis technique. So there's different kinds of training that you can get for that, and it's a very similar process.
Is it like Ericksonian hypnosis?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with
like
that.
NLP and NLP?
No, NLP is neuro-linguistic reprogramming, and that's where you're literally the client tells you, I want to quit smoking, or I want to fix this, and you're programming. You're programming the consciousness. You're literally going in, getting them into a very relaxed theta state, and then you're programming. And that I don't program, so I don't do those modalities. So, but I know people need it, and it's a beautiful thing. And one of my best practitioners I work with, she's an NLP master. It's just never been my flow of consciousness. I like you to go into your own power and do your own work. And if you're going to fix anything, you do it. I'm not going to tell you to do it. You're going to tell yourself to do it, because then I know it's from your own self.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm not pushing your free will anywhere it's not supposed to go, because we don't want to violate free will. It's
Mm-hmm.
important to leave that in full power. So that's the difference between kind of what I
Got
do with NLP versus, the QHT. Mine's a little bit more bringing the client to their own answers.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Yeah. So it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so what was Grandpa Brian? Then what was your experience then? Now it's getting to the good part right off the bat. So how did this start out? Just a thing, and then did you receive so much or not enough information that in the first session that you had to go back for the second, or was this a planned thing?
Brian, are you froze?
I think he's
I think he's
frozen.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a long stare.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Am I frozen
There you are.
now?
Now
No, you're good.
Okay. In the first session, there was a lot of things said to me, but the very first one was about the black sun, which in this lifetime I had no knowledge of a black sun even existing. But as of last night, I learned that there's a esoteric meaning to the black sun, and then the black sun was also connected to a sect, and I was actually a part of that sect. So my higher self and my higher self and my subconscious actually knew the information that I did not know.
Okay, wait a minute. You're talking about the black sun?
Can you hear me?
Yes. What is the black sun?
The black sun. So they just gave me a little information the first time, like I said, because they told me a lot of things. The first time they were saying that the black sun is a part of me, and that the black sun is not always bad and light is not always good. So a little more information came in, and then we started on something else. But then in the second session, me and Trina, actually about 15 minutes before that session, came up with some questions to ask about the black sun. Then that is when it was revealed to me that the black sun is God consciousness. All the darkness that you see out there at night, that is God's consciousness. It says in the Bible, God's light cannot be seen. But yet, they have proven that information travels throughout the universe on light, and it moves instantaneously. So that's when I made the connection that darkness that we see at night, that is God's consciousness. So in the beginning, you had God's consciousness, and that consciousness expanded so much it just bursted out. So we all know that light is artificial. So all light that you see up in the sky is artificial. That is actually the neurons of the consciousness. That is the thought forms that he has created. So all the light that we see out in the universe, that is the thought form of God consciousness. So God's consciousness surrounds us at all time. We are part of it. So that was a big revelation. I'm not sure what else questions we have for there, but it started really coming to me a couple of days later once I went back, because I really don't remember what we talk about in the session, so she records it and I go back the next day or even that evening and listen to actually what I said.
I'm
And
going
it's
to
making me
look.
realize.
I'll read some of the notes, Brian, and bring back some of your memory. I have a feeling. The first thing that he said, what he saw was he was traveling over the top of a forest. So as soon as he left his body, he started traveling and he went over the top of a forest and he saw the sun coming up on the horizon. And then he said, but the sun is black. And then he said, it's a second sun. And he said, it represents another dimension, the fourth dimension, light, bright light coming, and it's constant and it's peaceful and it's loving. It's a reflection of me. And then he started to climb mountains. So I didn't know if that helped bring back any of your memory.
Now that's when in the second section that I made the connection that the darkness is God consciousness. Because even no matter what path you take, whether it's love and light, service to others, or service to self, and that's the darker path, it all leads back to the one infinite creator, God. So no matter what path you choose, it all leads back. So exploring that darkness here recently, I'm starting to see how it's all connected and all the plants and how everything, every living being in the universe is connected through this one consciousness. And that's how I see it now, that this darkness, the black sun, is not bad. Everything has two sides, even we do. We have a good side, we have a bad side. We have had past lives where we were a horrible person. We've had past lives where we were really good people. But the ones that we really don't talk about, we have lives where you're neutral. You're not really good, you're not really bad. And that's the same way with the black sun, that has three sides to it, like Trina said, the Trinity. So everything has to have three. So you have the good, the bad, and neutral. So I would like to, our next session, actually explore the neutral prospect of the dark sun. Because we know, the dark sun has a good side and a bad side. It's just, what path do you want to follow? Do you want to follow that darker path of service to self, or you want to follow that love and light path of service to others? So that's kind of what I got out of the black sun, that it is God consciousness. I wish I'm going to try one time. Hopefully I can get myself to actually see that light that's out there and see how the God consciousness connects all the planets and everything. I think that would be absolutely amazing. Because once we can figure that out, how everything connects, then we know how it all connects to us. If that makes sense to people.
Oh, yeah. I've been shown that. I've seen the stars talk to each other. It was wild. And they showed me it looked like an Etch-a-Sketch, and it was making lines in the stars, and it was connecting like Etch-a-Sketch. And it was like one would shoot a beam at another one, and then it would shoot a beam back, and it was like beam, 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 beam. I was like, whoa. And then it was wild. So yeah, we see it all in different ways, but it seems like most of us eventually end up with similar conclusions. And that's the most brilliant part. And it's like the Trinity, and the sun that emanates light, and then we have the sun that emanates the darkness, and it's the perfect polarity, it's the perfect balance in a system of duality. And then when you look at that center point, that's usually the be still and know that I am God part. That's usually what you end up there. It's called still point. So yeah, still point is fun, and I've experienced still pointing a few times in sessions like that. Use still point, and that is a process that is kind of the equivalent of a computer that's having error codes and it's running wrong, and you shut it down and you let it sit for a few, and then it comes back online and it fully restores to the original programs. and everything's cleared up in the system. It's kind of what still pointing does for the human body when you can do that. So it's a beautiful thing to experience. So that's the point in the middle when I've investigated that area for me.
See, I think from a scientific standpoint, the sun. Okay, what is a sun? A sun is a body that emits photons, right?
Yes.
The white sun emits white photons that we can see.
Yes.
Since we can only see a limited portion of the electromagnetic spectrum, a black sun would be emitting black photons.
Yes.
What would these black photons be?
Yes.
Photons we can't see, namely gamma radiation.
Matter and antimatter.
Not
Black
really.
lights, red lights, all these different layers of light. But man,
sure. Let me finish. These would be gamma rays, which are just photons. They're just like accelerated and at a much higher frequency than the photons that we can see. And gamma rays are the product of usually neutron decay, where one element transmutes into a different element, and that's given off that gamma ray is given off as a particle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that would be the scientific explanation for the meaning behind the black sun.
And I think gamma, isn't that our highest state of consciousness of measurable when we can measure gamma? It's the highest.
By coincidence,
state.
it is. Yeah, the highest frequency.
Yes, it's gamma. So that's it. It's exactly what it is. The higher you can frequency vibrate at, the higher states of consciousness you can tap into. It's like you're an antenna. And the vibration is like the radio dial. So as you're shifting through these different vibrations, you're tuning into different channels on your system, and you're getting able to plug into the spirit guides. You can plug into nonsense. You can plug into your higher self.
Sure.
You can start to directly communicate with source God itself, because if you can vibrate high enough in gamma, I think that's where you're going in the gamma, because you can reach the lower astrals and all these planes and all these dimensions of reality in the lower states of consciousness, just above waking consciousness, like theta. You can just go into a relaxed state and access them. So gamma's the Mac Daddy. You're absolutely right from a scientific and a spiritual perspective.
And just like you have different frequencies of the white light that we can see, which are characterized by the different colors of light, so too do you have different frequencies of gamma, right? Yeah. So in other words, there's colors that we can't see that are emitted by that black sun.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
fascinating concept. Yeah.
And I think a lot of the information that is passed is with them black photons, because they're invisible to us, where we can see the light photons.
Yeah, and generally speaking, like these black photons or gamma rays are destructive to humans. That is, they're destructive to our bodies. But then again, we don't really know what they're doing to our souls, right? Our souls could be feeding off of those.
Yes, it could be.
I think they are. I think it might be the more magnetic part of the electromagnetic field, and then the more electric part would be.
When you think about it, like the human body is actually something like a robot, where the only reason we have to consume food is actually to get electrons that ultimately come from the sun, because the sun gives the electrons to the plant, the animal eats the plant, we eat the animal, and so we get the electrons. And it's basically comes down to the balance between the NADH and the NAD plus inside the liver. You know, that gets stored as what's that compound? I forget. But something like that.
I can't remember, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're right. It's
ATP, adenosine triphosphate.
ATP, yes. It's so funny. I was discussing that, earlier about how I've had experiences where I've seen evidence that humans are bioorganic robots. And that was a spiritual experience and a higher consciousness activation through a stimulus and a vibrational shift of my consciousness.
Yeah.
And over and over and over again, I was seeing humans that were robots. They were robots, and it was everybody. It wasn't just certain people like that. They live where certain were reptilians and certain weren't. No, everybody was this bioorganic, intelligent robot, living robot. And
That's almost,
underneath our flesh, I could hear the internal, and it was robotic, and the voice was robotic. It was very weird.
That's kind of similar to like this vision that I had like right after I had my stroke, where for the first time I went out in public and I was just like contemplating the world around me, and I came to the realization that all these people are aliens, right? We're all aliens on an alien planet. Like, we don't belong here, literally.
There's a lot of evidence to support that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of evidence. Yeah. Yeah.
We are living in the Matrix, aren't we? In a computer simulation.
Yeah.
Well, and that Big Bang event that they're talking about, something from nothing, that's like the video game turning itself on, right? Or somebody turning the video game on, where to a character inside the video game, it would appear like the Big Bang, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing what consciousness starts to show you. Just like Brian, he never had any consciousness of the black sun, but something inside of his consciousnness wanted him to know. So that's right where it took him. And that's the beautiful thing is we all have different pieces of wisdom and knowledge that we want to express, but we can't remember it. It's back there, in these chambers of our consciousness that we don't have conscious access to. So that's what this work really helps you do, is explore the inner workings of your own consciousness and go into your body. They're always saying, go within, go within. This is really, really going within.
And here's another weird thing about the black sun. That symbol, I could show it to you like in the green room, but not here in public. Because here in Germany, where I live, that's actually illegal to show. Because it's a symbol associated with...
don't say it. Yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So they kind of knew something already.
Yeah, because they were into esotericism and mysticism. Because if you look into them, they were into this thing called the Frill Society, spelled VRIL, right?
VRILL.
Frill, Frill, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of with
and
them.
the Thule Society. That was another one.
Yeah, the Thule. Yeah.
I mean, we don't think about magic so much, but any government really does deal in magic and witchcraft and all of that. I mean,
and that's a sigil.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we only look back at history and go, "Oh my gosh, those guys were doing that stuff." They're doing it right now.
Just look at the American dollar bill on the back. You got sigils all over the place. You got the pyramid. You got the eye inside the triangle. You got the eagle, right? And even other symbols associated with the United States, those have been passed down through history. Like, for example, the first national anthem was "My Country 'Tis of Thee." Well, that used to be the Russian national anthem. Then it was the British national anthem, and then for a while it was the American national anthem before it became the Star Spangled Banner. Right?
I didn't know that. Wow.
And the Russian imperial symbol is the eagle. Right?
Yeah.
Except that it has two heads, one looking east, one looking west. So these symbols get passed down over and over again. The colors of the flag: red, white, and blue. Russian flag is red, white, and blue. The British flag is red, white, and blue. The Czech flag is red, white, and blue.
Yeah. Yep.
A lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if in the background we're all under the same authority. You know what I mean? And it's just we'll just rearrange them and people will be like, this is our country. No, you're just under a group that's all the red and white and blue group,
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Washington, D.C., and the first thing that struck me, even when I was a kid, the architecture looks totally Roman. Totally.
Yeah.
Yes, Robert, but you're absolutely correct, because every registered birth gets put into the pool at the Vatican. So you're absolutely correct.
Well,
And
that and there's, oh, go ahead.
those guys that we can't talk about, that salute that they had, that was the Roman salute.
Yep.
Yes.
So here's the thing, too, is you had the you were talking about the eagle, and there's basically almost just two symbols out there, or two things. There's the eagle, and then there's the dragon or the serpent. Those are the flags. There's the two sides. Either you're an eagle or you're a serpent. One or the other.
Yeah, which is also strange because there's not that many eagles in the United States. The eagle is endemic to Middle East, actually, where, like, for example, in my country, the national symbol would be the lion. There's no lions in Czech Republic, none. Right? So why did they pick the lion?
Yeah.
It's an esoteric symbol. It means something else. And my theory is that the Roman Catholic Church, or I should say the Roman Empire, founded the Roman Catholic Church for the purposes of control, using divide and conquer tactics, and also as a control system. They knew that they were on their last legs, so they transformed themselves into the Vatican. When the Vatican's power started to ebb in the 15th and 16th century, they decided to transform themselves into the United States of America and shifted overseas, and this is what we see.
Yep.
Hey, I like Lori's question. She was asking about Brian's higher mind.
Yeah, when we did that first session, I really didn't remember a lot of it. It was only when I listened to it that first time and realized that, wow, I was actually connecting not only to my higher self, but also to my subconscious. And that is what the black sun inside us is our subconscious. All the information's there. All the Akashic records, all that is in your subconscious. It's just accessing all that information. So our subconscious is the black sun. That's the representation inside of us. So the first session happened May 5th. The second session happened on June 8th. And in between then, June 3rd, there was a planetary alignment in the eastern sky that morning. And it was all pointing right towards the sun. You had Mercury, Jupiter, Uranus, Mars, Neptune, and Saturn. But the weird thing was, in between Uranus and Mars sits a little planet way off in the distance called Krypton, which Krypton is in the constellation Corvus. Corvus is represented by the crow. Crow is messenger. So this alignment was pointing right to the sun, saying there's messages coming in from the sun. You need to listen to these messages. The next day, was watching Wayne's show. Wayne's show's over. About 30 minutes later, boom, all this information started coming to me about the creation story, and was telling me about the first atom was a crystalline being that was only in the higher chakras, the higher vibrations. They really didn't talk physically like we do. They were so high vibratory that they communicated telepathically. They were a crystalline being. I mean, they were unique to the universe. And that's why when they talk about that in the Bible, how the angels adored us and loved us, they're actually talking about the first Adam, because they were so connected to the all, everything, the universe, God source, all that. There was no war, violence, poverty. Everybody lived in harmony. It was only then the Draconians came in and realized that they could not control these people. That is when they spliced their DNA into our DNA. They destroyed the first atom to create the second atom, which made them more controllable. And now the information started coming to me that they were the ones that showed us and created religion, showed us and created government. It was all to keep us divided to where we would not reach that higher self again of that first Adam, which now that planetary alignment and the energies that are coming in now with going into this new age has made me realize this energy is actually trying to shift us back to that original Adam. It is actually trying to write the code of the reptilian DNA out of our DNA right now and bring us back to that crystalline being that we were meant to be. That's why this also came to me, sin. The sin is nothing but they're screwing with our genetic code. That's the sin. That's what we're born in because they screw with that genetic code.
They did. Yeah, there's evidence of that, and geneticists have proven that the human genome has been jacked with. There's evidence all over the genome, and it happened about 200,000 years ago. They did it to make us controllable. They shortened our lifespans, they decreased our intelligence, and they decreased our physical strength, but not to the degree that that would make us totally weak, because they needed slaves. They needed us to do their physical work for them, but we couldn't be too stupid to not be able to do the work.
Right. So now I put together that in the second Adam and Eve, when they are talking about the garden, they are actually talking about our genetic code, them splicing the serpent into our genes. And because that happened with that Eve and that Adam, now they're producing hybrids because they both have this new genetic code that they put into us, creating these hybrids. I'll get into that hopefully a little bit later about the other extraterrestrials and why they come and visit us, and it's so important, why we're so important to the universe. But to get back to the Draconians, it was all about control, to keep us at odds because they were a lower vibrational being. And what they were trying to do is bring our lower vibration down. But what they were also trying to do is figure a way to raise their vibration with our genetics. I don't know if they can put our genetic into their DNA and their skin, but I do know that they can put their genetic code into ours. So that's a lot of the information that I've been getting over this past week is look at it not as the snake entering in the garden. That is a representation of the snake entering into the reptilian part of our DNA. So,
but also the snake could symbolize DNA itself.
Correct.
From crystalline to carbon. That could have been the shift.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. You know, one other thing that you mentioned, Brian, when you're ready to, I have a couple other things that might bring up some more memory that you haven't spoken about yet. So continue, but I just want to remind you there was more.
Okay. The apple, when they said they ate of the apple of knowledge, I actually think that you have it wrong. It is the apple of forgetfulness. So when she took that bite, then that wiped away all the memory of the previous lives. And that's why we're reincarnated, where we cannot remember our past life stuff, all the memories we have, all the knowledge that we've learned in the past. So I don't think it was a tree of knowledge. They say it's a tree of knowledge, but I think it was the tree of forgetfulness, to where we can't remember who we truly were. That's just my take on it. And what
Snow White, she bites the apple, and what's it do? It puts her into a coma.
Yeah.
Yeah, they usually show us in fairy tales what they kind of think that's true. So there's probably a lot of truth to that. The forgetfulness came from a fruit.
Yes.
Also, the apple could symbolize there's a plant that makes you forget, that produces fruits that look just like apples, but they're smaller. I can't remember offhand what it's called, but it's called the demon's apple.
Oh, and, wow. That just gave me the chills.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a plant that that produces apples that make you forget. Yeah.
That could be the one.
Hmm.
That could be the one.
Yep.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
I think it's
So-
Datura. Datura.
Interesting. Do you remember, Brian, when you saw the black horse?
No, I do not.
Okay. I'll bring you back to it a little bit and see if you can connect into it. You were being told to stay on your journey, and you were climbing mountains, and they were like, stay on your journey, and that's what your higher self was saying, and they were telling you that you have found your purpose, and that you're going to be reaching new advancements and growth in your healing aspects. And then that's when you said you saw a black horse and you felt free and comfortable.
Yeah, well, you look at wild stallions. They're free. They roam.
Yeah. And then you said you saw the all-seeing eye and the hieroglyphics and the Grand Pyramid, and you were taken in there.
I do believe that was past life stuff I was showing there, because I do know that I've had a past life in Egypt, and I was a high priest in Egypt. So a lot of that, because being a high priest, I had access to the glyphs and all that. So that they were probably just showing me past life experiences that I had with these items.
Right on. Do you want me to tell you some more?
Sure.
You had quite a bit in here. Then you said that you were flown to the Devil's Tower and that the sky was red and you saw birds flying around the Devil's Tower, just circling it. And then you heard free your mind. See how you can see everything, because you were like the eyes of a bird. You were seeing from above. And then you were like, free your mind. You can see everything. Everything is not what it seems. Use your knowing to decode the illusion. Then you said crescent moon is feminine energy, connecting to Mother Earth, tapping into her for transformation. Light coming out all around.
And I don't that was probably in the first session, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. The first session, I was actually laying on Trina's bed and she was sitting over in the corner, so you could barely hear me talk. So a lot of it I probably was only getting bit and pieces of when I listened to it.
Yeah. And he went really deep on his first session too. And that's why it's better if you can do it person to person. I think there's a more powerful energy there. But yeah, because he really went really deep on his first session. But the second session, we really didn't have any questions. He wanted to just know a little bit more about the black sun. And that's exactly what he did. And it was only 20, 30 minutes long and it was done. But the first one was almost an hour and 45 minutes. Yeah. So there was a lot there.
Yeah. And like I said, that first session, they were just wanting me to know things. Like the second session, we actually came up with questions about 10 minutes before we were doing this, so there was really no pre-knowledge of what we wanted to talk about. It was like, all right, what questions? All right, let's ask this question. Let's ask that question. Let's ask this. So that's how we proceeded in the second one. It was basically towards the black sun.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So another revelation that came to me was what the extraterrestrial aliens, where you want to call them, call this planet, and that is Keystone Earth, because our genetics hold a lot of the keys to the universe. All the other extraterrestrials out there, the aliens, whatever you want to call them, their DNA can be spliced into our DNA. That's what makes us so special. And not only that, is our psychic abilities. A lot of them, you know, they don't have access like we do, our chakra system and the psychic abilities that we do. So they kind of marvel. And what they're trying to do is find ways to where they can be more like us. And I think that's why they keep visiting and they take people, because they're trying to find a genetic code that they can put in their DNA that can bring them closer to who we are as humans. So we're kind of like, they told me a cornerstone of the universe because of our genetics and all the gifts and abilities that are inside of us. So that's why they come here, and that's why, perfect example, the Anunnaki, their name for Earth was Ki. They just left out the stone, Ki. They knew that all the other ones call us Keystone, but they did not want us to know. That's why they only called us Ki, because they didn't want us to know the truth that we were the keystone, the cornerstone of this part of the universe. That it was a lot of information coming out then.
So, the mysteries of Keystone Earth. Yeah, that was pretty brilliant. That was a pretty. He had no knowledge of that. See, that's what I mean. This is when you know your information is going into a different awareness, because he had no knowledge of that. None whatsoever.
So after your question, after you did all of this, Grandpa Brian, do you start getting, I mean, I know you're reviewing and everything, but are you starting to get like flashbacks, like, oh yeah, I remember, or maybe more information's downloading yet? Or was it you're just trying to review the stuff you got?
Oh, I mean, all like today, there was just information. I had to shut it down about 2 hours before the show because the information just kept coming to me and coming to me and coming to me. I was like, all right, I will take in this information now, but I'm going to need a time here shortly that I need to stop this so I can concentrate on what I'm going to be doing this evening. Like I said, that planetary alignment was pointing right towards the sun. And the thing was, when all this information was coming to me, the sun was directly shining down on me. So I know everybody has this ability. Just be willing to connect, just knowing that, okay, that sun is there to give me information that is being shared with it throughout the universe. Be willing to accept that information. And the first thought that comes to your head, like I was trying to tell people last night, my daughter, the first thought that comes to your head is probably the correct one. Don't ever second guess that first thought that comes in, because that information could be the most important information. If you try to dismiss it like, well, that's not my thinking. Well, I know it's not your thinking. It's information coming into you. You need to listen and follow up with that information. Ask questions.
It's interesting that, when you mentioned Keystone yesterday, the first thing I thought of was the Keystone State, right? Which is the nickname for Pennsylvania. And if you look at Pennsylvania on the map, it's shaped kind of like a brick, right? And but what does the word Pennsylvania mean? It's Penn and Sylvania, and Sylvania means land of the forests, right?
Yep.
And what does Dalibor mean? My name. It means the one to whom the forests were given.
Yeah.
Right. Not that I ever lived in Pennsylvania, but I lived right next to it.
Yeah.
So see how everything's related? Everything's related.
Yes, it is. And it was interesting. Years ago up at a friend's house, his daughter, we were out walking the land, and she looked down and she saw a rock that she'd never seen, and she's been on this land forever, and it's on their property. And it was an old rock, and it had painting on it. But this painting wasn't like normal paint. It was like hieroglyphic painting, where it doesn't come off. And it was a rock, and it had an X through the center of it. And on the top and the bottom, there was a white dove and then a dark dove. And then on the other side was a white human foot and then a brown human foot. So it was in that, and when she showed me what she found, the first thing that went into my mind was Keystone.
Keystone, yeah. Wow. That's a very interesting story.
And
what do you suppose that means?
And then the footprint. The dove is the spirit, and the footprint is going into matter.
Yeah,
and how
soul
there's
of
the balance.
Foot, right?
There's the dark and the light of each side. One light dove, one dark dove, one light foot, one dark foot. And it was showing the balance of the two aspects of the spirit and the matter, creating a keystone.
And also, it shows the soles of the feet. Get it? Soul?
Yes, and the spirit of the dove.
And the spirit of the dove.
Yes, yes, that's what I thought. Spirit dove,
Yeah.
soul, human,
Soul.
man, foot. Yeah, that's
Yes.
exactly what I thought. And then one was white, one was dark. So I even found a keystone, and literally I knew that's what it was, but I didn't know what it meant. So and when he was talking about this, now it makes more sense to me what that keystone really is.
Yeah.
It's big.
Yeah,
And I
it
think
started making sense to me the deeper I got into it and kept reviewing it over and over again, that it started making more sense to me.
Yeah.
So we also have within the next year 2 more planetary alignments of 6 planets or more. One will be August 28th, and it's actually going to be the same 6 planets again lining up. And then February 28th of 2025, you're going to have 7 planets in alignment. So pay attention to these alignments and where they're pointing to, because there could be important messages in these alignments when they happen.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely means something.
Right, because I don't follow astrology that much. You know, what houses. What I follow is the alignments, because the alignments are going to tell us messages that we need to know now. You just got to look and see where these alignments are pointing to receive these messages.
Yeah, but the fact that this last one was also featured the little planet Corvus in the constellation Corvus. Corvus, that's the crow, and of course, that's a very interesting animal because, for example, one of the greatest mystics of our time was Crowley, right? Crowley.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's also an animal known to be a harbinger of bad news, right?
And also a messenger and a directional, follow the way the crow flies. They'll send you home. You know, it can help get you home. So there's duality in all things. So you got to see the potential that both are there. So, what is it showing up for you as a positive or a negative? This to me looks like a huge conjunction to messages, new light, new incoming information from the new bringing in of the new solar logos, because the old solar logos is out and the new one is in, but there's going to be an infusion of both energies until they finally separate, or everything would break apart and it would just be a mess. So this is, I think, going to be for a while. I was just looking at your notes, Brian. It was interesting because you were talking about planetary alignments and how important they were, and that how these are the ways that we're going to be bringing in this new light. So these conjunctions, you're right. Pay attention, because you're saying this is what you were saying. It was saying diving deeper into the black sun, the 6 planet alignment for 2 days. Is there anything we need to know about this? And it was like we all come in the black sun, and then you were talking about there will be change through the light, and that's when you started talking about cornerstones and energies. We need to combine the energies and magnify them, pointing out the sun. The sun is the information that sends us the information. And then you said not just the USA, but worldwide. Help Mother to up her frequency. A big wave. Take up to 100 years to complete.
Yeah.
The other thing that I remembered regarding the crow, right? The German word for crow is Raab, R-A-A-B, right? But that's because that's in English. That's a derivative of the word raven, which is another word for crow, right?
Yeah.
Just thought I'd mention that.
So get back to all that. The crow in one story was crows were always white, and the Greeks actually called that constellation Coronis. And Apollo fell in love with the goddess of Coronis. She fell in love with a human. So when the crow brought that message back to Apollo that she fell in love with a human, it pissed him off, and he scorched the feathers of the crow, and that's when the crow became black.
Wow.
So there's the story of the bad message coming back from the crows. So that's where that
So
story.
jealousy turned it from light into darkness.
Correct.
Interesting. I just saw the picture of the white dove and then the dark dove. I was like, wow. And the white foot and the dark foot. Wow. Wow.
It's over jealousy.
One of the 7 deadly sins.
Yep.
So the skin we're in produces things in our nature that we didn't have before because the reptilian part of the integration into the crystalline man. This is amazing. It's amazing how he starts putting all the dots together in the mind. And it's so different too, because, you know, we hear all these stories, but when you see these things yourself, it doesn't matter if it's right, wrong, perfect, imperfect. It's right for you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's right for you. And it's good for your understanding. Yeah.
I think more of us need to try to start going into this journey work of going inside ourselves and getting into that higher consciousness and higher self and see what actual messages they have for you. You'd be absolutely amazed. And what you do, you're like, wow.
I've derived a lot of positive information and positive outcomes just by being grateful for the sun. Anytime I see it in the sky, I'm like, thank you. Hey, buddy, thanks for all the work that you do. It's like, because the sun literally does everything for us. And it keeps giving, keeps on giving, and never wants anything in return from us. And the least we can do is show it some gratitude.
But also, the one thing that our sun does, it can also cause death and illness.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
You look at heat stroke, you can die of a heat stroke, heat exhaustion makes us feel bad. So there is the polar opposite again, the good light and the bad light, because too much and it gets you too hot. Guess what? You're not going to be feeling good. And there could be a chance that this could be serious. So there's that duality again. So like I said, not all light's good, not all light bad. There's always a duality. Duality everywhere.
Ultimately, you would crawl in, you would go underneath a shelter or some kind of a roof made of solidified plant material like wood. And where did that solidified plant material come from? The sun.
Exactly.
So
yes.
It helps things grow, but it also can destroy too.
Yes. It's all unified.
Yes. You know, it's so funny too. I see that the dark sun is the magnetizing, and I see that's more of the sleeper in the nighttime, and it's the degeneration process, the part that creates the fertilizers, and it does all the underground work, the root work, the dark work. And the sun is the part that's inspiring and downloading and coding and animating and giving energy to. And that's the part of the system that's processing it all.
Yes.
Processing it all.
Yeah. That's why we have nighttime, because there's animals that can only do their jobs at night.
At night. Yes. Yes. And I think that's a function of our nighttime work that we've just really not had a big conscious awareness of. But just as the sun is out during the day, and then the moon in the night is what we see what we have at nighttime, and that's when we rest, and that's when we heal and we regenerate, and that's when our brain goes into a theta or deeper into the deltas
alpha.
and alpha and then gamma, and all these states of mind you can access when you're asleep. So you don't know where you actually end up in the night, but that's when you're healing everything about you. So that is such a critical part of what we are, to be balanced, whole human beings. We have to fully engage with our nighttime and our daytime powers.
Sure. Yeah, and the pineal gland is actually a gland inside the brain that contains optical nerve cells, right? It contains retinal cells that are sensitive to light, and crystals,
and magnets.
And magnets.
Yes.
And the pineal gland secretes melatonin, and that gets triggered only with a decrease in light.
Yes.
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 That's why we enter the sleep cycle, because the melatonin gets secreted into the brain.
And it's funny, you know, even when we do the psychedelics, you know, you wonder what does that do to the brain? It's slowing the brain down. What do you do when you go to sleep? You slow the brain down. So
Yeah.
when we slow the brain down, that's when we get into these higher states of consciousness. And it's hilarious because like gamma is one of the highest. And when you're in that state of mind, it's like full on blown ecstasy, mind blowing, knowing everything and not even caring about what your body ever does again. You know what I mean?
Sure,
It's hilarious. It's crazy.
Because the pineal gland not only secretes melatonin, but also serotonin, which wakes you up. And serotonin, that's like the happiness hormone, but that's more like long-term happiness. Short-term happiness, that's like dopamine. That's like, material, that's not happiness, that's pleasure. And there's a difference between pleasure and happiness, right?
Yeah.
So the pineal gland, that's the way to true happiness.
They say the pineal gland
is the third eye.
They say it's the window to see God, and it's true. It really is, because that and you got to figure your imaging in your own mind by a gland in your brain getting anointed by a holy oil, and it's also colostrum. So this holy oil anoints your gland, and through that pressure, that little bit of pressure from the bathing of that oil creates a piezoelectric effect from the pressure of the crystals in the brain and the magnetic force. And this is an internal light show that all came based upon your vibrational shift in the darkness.
Yes, and there's a quick hack that you can do that a lot of people instinctively use, even little kids, and that's rubbing your eyes. When you rub your eyes, you're creating pressure on that pineal gland, which triggers the piezoelectric action of those crystals and gets it to secrete a bit more serotonin. Yeah. That's a primitive way of stress relief.
Today they showed me, when you just talked about the hallucinogenics, they was like, look at it like this. When you're just in that conscious mind, the neurons are moving at the speed of light. When you do these hallucinogenics, now the neurons are moving at the speed of sound. So it slows everything down for you to able to process it. Instead of it just going by so flash that you're only getting little bits and pieces of it, it actually slows down to where you actually hear it and are able to process it.
And you know, too, I think when the mind slows down, in essence, what's really happening is you're tuning the outside world out and you're going in. So the more you go in, this reality starts to fade out, and you're going into a different construct of your consciousness. And I think that's the simplest way to say what's happening. And it's so natural and so easy. And the more you do it, the faster and easier it becomes. And it's just amazing what happens when we actually just slow down. We get to see God. And that's pretty amazing.
I had a psychedelic. My last psychedelic experience was on ibogaine. And it was a beautiful experience. I highly recommend it to anybody. There's things I can't even talk about because they're just so profound. There's just no way to describe that experience and put pen to paper or even words into the ether.
It's hard. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's very hard.
Like you got to try it for yourself. It's like visiting the Great Pyramid. No amount of videos are ever going to give you that same experience as actually going there physically yourself.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's saying the beginning was the Word, and Word is God. Some things there's no words for. There's just images, and that's the God part of you. The images are so profound, but you don't have words for them because there's nothing in this language to define the texture, the color, the vibrational rate, the experience, the feeling. We don't have language for this stuff because it's so above what we experience on a sensory level in the third dimensional conscious waking state.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
It's hard.
And one of the things I was shown during that tripping state on ibogaine was that, most of the gods that people worship are fake gods. They're fake because any true God who created us only wants us to be happy and free. Nothing else.
Yes.
Nothing else. Everything else is fake.
We're experiencing its creation through its eyes.
Yeah.
So of course it wants the best for it. But you know, it's there's so much more wisdom. I know it's the consciousness that's running all of this. I know has an absolute perfect plan. And when I look at this plan and I've asked the consciousness of this God thing that's running this consciousness, why are you doing this? Because this is crazy, you know, and it's like, it's all going to come back to perfection through me. And it was through a process which we would be evoluting, which is going out, really connecting out and getting further and further away from what you really are. So we're on the real outside edge, and that's why it's time for the great reset. So when this reset happens, what they showed me was the whole construct, instead of pushing itself out, it flips and it starts to push itself back in, and it starts to involute. So through the involution, you return back to the innocence, you return to the crystalline, you return to the self, and all of the false just disintegrates through the process of clearing and involuting through your own self and going back in. And that's what the Aquarius is. It's no more I believe, it's I know. When you know, you're going in. So this is the clue. We're not expanding outward as much as now there's going to be a process of it's time to flip it and go back inward. In the process of involution will be a lot of what's going on.
Because everything comes from within, nothing comes from without, right?
Yeah.
But getting back to that point of why does the Creator love us? It's how would you explain this to somebody living in the 15th century? Well, real simple. It's like if you were an artist and you created a statue out of marble, you put all this effort into it, right? You would create the statue to be the most beautiful representation that you could possibly muster, right? And the last thing you would want is somebody to destroy that statue. You wouldn't necessarily care where it's displayed or who owns it. As long as nobody destroys it, you're happy.
Preserve it. Right.
Yeah.
Take care of it and preserve it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Brian, watching you go through your process of involution was super fun for me. So thank you. And it was awesome. Chloe and I have done this before, and that was fun. And like I said, this type of work, you got to trust. It takes time. You got to build some rapport. But once you get through those boundaries, because Brian and I were going to start doing more sessions together, because it's like, then you can kind of really see, like once you do this a few times, your body knows what to do. You know exactly what to do, and you just start going where you need to go. And, you know, before you do this kind of work, really take some time and make sure you have some really good questions.
Yes.
You know, really go deep into your own self and say, soul self, what do I think is important for me to know at this moment of now? What would be good for me to know? And what would be good for me to know to help my father, you know, my brothers and sisters in the world? What would be good for us all to know right now? You know, dig deep, say, what is it? And if you know specific things you want to ask about, do that. Because when you have the question, you already know the answer. So it's about this remembrance, and that's why you get into these remembrances. It's through these beautiful questions that you can formulate within your own consciousness.
Exactly.
So have fun with you, because you guys are magical, wonderful beings of light and beauty and sound and vibration. And I just love y'all.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah. I mean, it's so amazing to be in the company of so many enlightened minds like this, right? It's like never in the history of the history of humanity you have like people from all different corners of the globe. Like I'm in Germany, and you guys are all over the place. Been able to have a discussion in real time like this. There's never been a better time than the present. That's why a lot of people who are knocking it and saying, oh, you know, the globalists and the Freemasons or whatever. No. If you have the choice, would you want to relive life in the 70s? I don't think so.
You know, Delabar, they have a I think it's a website called experiment proof. I'll see if I can find it for y'all. But it was a website that's actually been doing measurable statistics on when people do group meditations, the effect it has on the war, the world, the hurricane, the earthquake, whatever they pray on.
Yeah.
It's so strong now in its measurements. It's getting stronger and stronger. Now, this is the reason why we do this work, is because when you find out what is your purpose, what am I here to do? When you start to understand that, you can focus your attention for the biggest part of this puzzle you came to help solve. And you literally gather with like-minded individuals who focus energy to achieve the same goals as peace, healing, healing for the water, for the animals. They're struggling too. I mean, the planet, there's so much that we need to do. And everybody is about fight, protest, do all those are not going to work in the new Aquarian age. They will not work. They will backfire on you. They will destroy you, because this is not about I believe. This is about I know. And to know is to know how to direct your consciousness, because this whole construct is mental. It's all mind. So when we can focus, that's when we will win.
Not just the focus. And there's various techniques that people have used, not just group meditation, but what's really inspiring. What's really inspiring is like this one Russian billionaire decided to take his hometown and build like a set of pyramids around this town, right? And it's a major city of about 80,000 people. Within the space of 1 year, he decreased alcoholism by 75%. Inside this town, crime fell by like 80% in just this one town, right? And all he did was built like 12 huge pyramids around this town. That's all he did. In other words, those pyramids serve those same purpose as the positive prayer.
Well, not only that, too, I bet you they were all resonating a specific frequency.
Could be.
And that frequency probably made people very calm and happy. And when people are calm and happy, they feel safe. And when people are safe, wow, you see them shine, because they aren't operating with any fear motives. They feel safe. And that's the thing. If we could feel safe and really start to love and trust each other, wow, we would live in such a beautiful, beautiful planet. Beautiful planet.
Yeah. Agreed.
We can do this.
Totally.
I know we can.
I believe there's no coincidences. So look at the technology advancements over the past 70 years that brought us to this point right here. And the age of Aquarius. It was all set up for us to be able to get this information out at this time, to bring people together, to help all of us evolve.
Yeah, because we had the technology to build this, like back in the 1800s. Right. We just didn't know it, because we had copper, we had silicon, we had germanium, we had all these elements and a basic knowledge of how electricity works, but we didn't put it all together until recently.
I think some of the old churches and stuff might have had this, and even the pyramids. When they found the other pyramids now that make every single octave of our sound. They found the last two. So it's all based on creating sound. And when we know the law, Tesla 369, if you learn light, sound, and vibration, you will understand the keys to the universe. This is true, because when we shift the vibration in our mind, we go to a different dimension of consciousness. So if we could shift the vibration in the physical world through tools of physical, just like, ring the bell, sing the song, because we are the sound makers here. And if enough of us could sound, it would shift the frequency of the planet, which it could shift. It could shift so much. It could reduce all crime. I mean, just like you're saying, Dalabar, these are magic tools, and we need to remember how to use them.
Exactly. And also be aware of the fact that there's dark forces at work that are trying to subvert humanity.
Exactly.
Well, they're blasting us with the hard frequencies right now. They started in 1912. with
Not
changing
just,
the
yeah,
radio frequencies. And
yeah,
that frequency makes us irritated, stressed out, depresses our immune system. So
hmm
what did they do? They took away our peace and gave us anxiety, which creates fear. So we've been living and existing in a fear-based vibratory rate through all of our media systems from the
yeah,
1912 or 13 at
yeah,
440
because
hertz,
Yeah.
yeah,
which
not
is
just that, but
bad for us.
60 electricity in the United States is at 60 hertz, right? Which
Yeah.
is a bad frequency for the human body.
Yes. And
Yeah.
they can make it to where it makes us all sing happy songs, but they're not choosing that.
Yeah, they're
They're
not. No, no.
choosing to do harmful things. And but there's do any of you watch the Inspired channel?
Yes, I believe I've come across it.
Okay, well, he's running a special. He's gone into business with the guy who does it's called EFFLE, I think. And literally, you get a subscription and you can do like 30 days for free to try it. And what it does is you have to give them your legal ordinate, your coordinates for your home satellite location, and
hmm
they will beam a frequency at you that's harmony for your body, your food, your plants.
Oh,
People
yeah,
who have it
that's
say it's changing their lives, it's stopping the fighting in their families,
that
their
sounds like
animals are
FLF.
happier.
Sounds like
Wow.
FLFE, right? Fluffy.
Yes, yes, that's what it is. The
That's what it
FFL,
is.
that's it, Delabar, you got it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I heard of it.
Yeah,
Yes. Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah, because
So
the dark forces, they're not only using these electrical frequencies, but they're also using, primitive methods, like
yes,
importing
yes,
drugs, right? Importing
yes.
drugs into the Western world, or the Karen program, that's another
But
one.
see, this is another thing. If we go dive into our consciousness, we can start to literally ask our higher self, what's the remedy when we get exposed to this? What's the
Yeah.
remedy? And we can start literally finding tools that we have available to us in this matrix easily to nullify and really help with our physical and emotional states. And
hmm
this is the stuff that we forgot, that now
Yeah.
it is time to remember, because we are the ones that will fix this. It's going to be us. There's no,
Yeah. There's no
it's going to
evidence
be
Exactly.
of us.
And it's not going to be by engaging with the existing system. It's going
no,
to
it's
be,
got to start. We got to get outside. We got to break programs because we're running all
yeah,
new programs through a new age of Aquarius. And it's
yeah.
hard to let go of these things. And it's
hmm
going to be a challenge, but it's just got to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Man.
Yeah, we're getting there. It's gonna take another decade, I think, but yes.
I think longer than that. I think,
I
but we're going
believe
to see
longer than that, too.
progress through the whole way.
Yeah.
Yeah. hmm
Right?
Yeah. But this is the start. This is the start.
Yeah.
It's communities
Yeah.
like this,
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
It all has to
And
start somewhere.
remembering. Yeah.
And remembering. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Exactly. Wow. This has been one of the most interesting shows I've had in a long time. We got to do this again. Man.
we
Yeah.
Now,
will.
here
Yeah.
I got one question, and I'm sure everybody's thinking about this. The journey work. What Grandpa Brian went through, and I'm sure others have. You said you did some with Chloe. Is everybody able to do journey work, or
Yeah.
get it done?
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you can read a book and you start to see the pictures in your mind, it's the same thing. That's all it is.
Mhm.
It's just like being able to read a book. And what you're doing is you're just closing your eyes and you're letting your consciousness start to show you what it wants. And I'll help guide you with tools to help get you to see. But it's all what you want to see. We're not saying, oh, let's see this or let's see that. There's things we do tell you to see to show you that you are in control. And you can
Mhm.
manipulate these things with your power. So no, you are in control. So there's things that we put in to show you that you're in control, to keep you safe. And it's just a beautiful natural thing. And like they always say in the Bible, the ones who come to me with the mind of a child will be the ones who truly see the kingdom of heaven. That's what this is.
Yes.
You're letting your imagination show you what you remember and who you truly are. And you can also change the body. I've seen people do miraculous healings. I mean, literally bona fide. Wow. wow, Jesus style miracles. And I mean, and they do this. You don't, they do. They heal. They do this on their own. And everybody's doing different reasons. Some people need healing. Some people need trauma from suicides and death and different stuff like that. There's all different things that you can accomplish within your own personal conscious window. And it's so much beautiful when somebody holds space for you and says, I got you. And I'm going to take you wherever you want to go and make sure you're safe through the whole process and bring you back. And the more you start to do this process, the more you trust in your own ability and you really start to get some shit done. And it is nice. Oh, it's so wonderful to see people heal and grow and expand in consciousness. Any way you go with it, you're just winning.
And I should point out, if you had the mind of a child, what's the one thing that you would be doing more of?
Imagination and playing.
No, not just that, but the exterior manifestation, smiling, right?
Yeah,
smiling.
right.
And when you smile, that triggers more of that serotonin. It's like, it's not just the body follows the mind, but the mind follows the body to a degree.
Yeah.
If you force yourself to smile, you will actually create a better mood.
Yes,
You're not
but when you're connected to the higher part of you, that is the inner child, you can't help but that's authentic. You have to smile because everything gets silly and curious again, and you stop to take things so personally, and you really pay attention to your drives, your passions. You're like, I like that. I don't like that. You know, you get more like a little kid, kind of clears up your own programs a little bit. The more you can remember your foundation, the more you can let go of the things you've adopted through all of our programs that really don't serve you at all. You can be like, oh, bye.
To really do this journey work, you have to have the will to that free will. You have to be willing to go in, even if it's dark when you get in there. It's still the willingness to go inside yourself and want to explore.
Yes. Nice. Well, I've learned a lot. I think everybody else has too. Steve Boat says one of the best shows ever. So there you go.
Thank you.
Really good. I tell you what, people, reach out, do your journey work. You know, get a hold of Trina, send her an email. I'm Grandpa Brian too. You know, he can help you out. I know. You know, we'll figure this out. If you're into this and you want to do it, you know, there are people out there that can guide you and do these things. And if it's your calling,
Steve was mentioning about price and cost. You know, that's what one of the things Brian and I were talking about. It's like, a lot of these sessions they're really high dollar. They're $1,000 a session. And a lot of people really need to know how to do this. I mean, if you want to go become an NLP practitioner, you will need to go get certified with that. But this is something you could learn and do with your friends and your family. This is super natural, super easy, super organic. And we'll start to show parts of the sessions and you guys can see and do what works for you. You can create your own protocols. You can create your own sessions where you bring people in. Like the first part when I worked with Brian, the first 20 minutes is me telling him how powerful, how wonderful, how shielded in light, how strong, how there's no one in the world like him. There will never be anybody else like him ever in existence. Therefore, you already win. There is no competition because there is never anything going to be like you. So as you grow and you learn, you expand your own consciousness. My sessions are so different now than they were 20 years ago. It's so different because my growth has expanded. So there's no right or wrong with this. You have an intention to love people, keep them safe, and honor their process of going into their processes and be there for them. You can never go wrong with that. It's all about intention and your heart. And it's very easy to do. So no, you guys can learn this and you can do it any way you want. And you can do it yourself with friends, with family, with anybody you know. And that would be free.
Yeah. And I can testify that these sessions have actually expanded my consciousness.
It's so like popcorn.
So these sessions will help expand your consciousness. And the second session we did, you would not believe how easily I slid into that trance.
Right now.
It was
It
like
was only one and done, 30 minutes. It was like, and that's what little kids do. Straight up. Little kids, man, 30 minutes, one and done, baby. Boom, they're like wizards. They're so fast. They heal all their trauma, throw it all in the fire, burn it up. They're like, let's go climb a tree. They're amazing.
Because they have the suspension of disbelief through imagination, right? Because they have better developed imaginations than we do. We've suppressed
They're wizards.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And Brian was like a kid on the second session. He was like, one and done. I found out about the black sun. I'm good. Cool. Peace out. Bye. Yeah, totally. 30 minutes done. Easy. Laughing. Just totally went in real quick. So simple. I mean, he was so in by the time I even got through the opening of telling him how wonderful he is. He was already getting information, just kicking back, waiting for me to catch up. That's like a kid.
Pretty much.
Yes, that's like a little kid, and that's a wizard.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun.
Yes, it has. Very informational. I hope a lot of people got a lot out of this, and all the people listening in the future. I suggest that, like I said, just reach out and get your journey work done, people, and use your imagination, and it'll be great. And with that, remember, everybody, thank you all for being here tonight. Grandpa Brian, thank you for contacting me and saying, hey, I want to spread this information out. Trina, thank you for being on tonight. Delabore, thank you for joining us. It's always great to have a scientist in the house.
Yeah, thank you for allowing us to be able to do this evening. This information has been wanting to pop out of me for a while, so I am so appreciative and so thankful that.
And Brian and Robert and Delabore, if people are interested in this work, we could do some private Zooms where we could just send out links to the Soul Tribe, and we could actually show this for real and show them the whole process, how to go in, how to get out, the whole process. So that way they can start learning, and you guys can work with each other on the platforms. I mean, it's literally that easy. And then you can do stuff with the phone. And when you do stuff from distance, just always remember to tell the person you're working with, if you don't hear me for more than 30 seconds, you will gently start to do your countdown and come back into your conscious awakened state. So if you do not hear my voice, just gently count, come back up to consciousness, and return. And then we will reestablish our connection. And then they can call you back, get on the phone, everything, and you can put them right back down and it don't even miss a beat. But there's things you need to learn to protect your people when you work. So you don't. But this is no protocol. This is nothing that we're teaching. This is just exploring consciousness and taking a basically a guided meditation with a little bit of pointers. Yeah.
Nice. Well,
then we can make your own, because I'm telling you, we're all going to give our own special magic because we're all different. Yeah.
And because we want to be the frequency we want to receive, everyone. So with that, go out and do something nice for somebody. Make your day, enjoy the summer, and we will be back next week. Same time, same place. Peace, everybody. Love you all.